guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some sneak peeks from the upcoming Merry Moments Honeybee release. I am using the Lovely Layers Sleigh Bell as my focal point today. This is part of the new release, as is the embossing folder, which is the frosted filigree 3D embossing folder. And then the sentiments are warm holiday wishes. So I actually used this at 3D embossing folder in a live when I did my first sneak peek last week. And there seemed to be some concern about if we didn't do a 5x7 card and we did an A2 size card that you would lose a lot of the detail. So I wanted to show you on an A2 size card that you still get quite a bit of the design. And then I'm using the shield as my layer to kind of house my my focal point. This is from the shield layering frames. And then I think I cut out every single piece. I cut out every single piece from the Lovely Layers sleigh bells, and some of them twice, because I wanted 2 bells and then I wanted enough greenery to kind of bring them all together. So we're going to start with our background. I decided to go more of like a teal-ish, like a dark teal, because I thought that that would look really nice with the gold bells. So I am going to speed this up. I don't ink blend this fast. But I am starting with peacock feathers, and I'm putting this all over the entire paper. And then from there, I am going to work just around the edges from the Mermaid Lagoon to Uncharted Mariner to Black Soot, and then back in. Then this is going to create kind of a little bit of a halo effect around my focal point, which kind of draws the eye in, which is very nice. So I did... What did we do? I think in the live, I do plan to edit that one down and share it. I just haven't had a chance to yet. In the live, we did a little bit of a technique with the embossing folder with some glitters and stuff. I love the way that that came out. So I will definitely be sharing that one as well. But I think this is kind of nice too. It reminds me very much, now I know that I am the mom of a toddler and a little lady toddler at that. But this very much is giving me Frozen vibes, which I think is really great. So not only will it be great for the holidays, but if you have a little one, or you have like a little grandbaby that really loves Frozen, this would make great, like for a birthday card, like that little bit of Frozen magic. I think that it would fit right in there. So, yeah, we don't, right now, we're not super, like my little one is not super into Disney at the moment. She's very much into like Barbie and K-pop Demon Hunters, which is a huge thing. If you have littles, you already know what I'm talking about. So, that will be, I'm going to have a card coming up for her birthday, because I can't even believe she's going to be 4. She's going to be 4 in less than a week. She'll be 4. I can't believe it's going by so fast. And I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me, because she's my last baby. It seems like it's going by faster this time than it did the first time around. Did you find that to be the case with your kids? Because for me, it does feel like it's going by much quicker the second time around, which is very sad. So now that we have that done, I'm going to work on my die cuts. I am coloring my die cuts with alcohol markers. You could use, ink blending, but I wanted to do we're heading into the holidays, right? And we like a lot of shimmer and shine and sparkle and glossiness with our holiday cards. So I wanted to kind of show 2 different ways to do that. One makes sense for little things and one makes sense for big things. Here, you'll see one of those little bells off to the side is already colored. I desperately needed to re-ink my markers, and I wasn't getting really good blends that I was happy with. So I re-inked it, and that's what I'm coloring this time around, but I decided to leave the other one in so that you could see the difference between when we're coloring with a well-inked marker and when we're coloring with one that is not. I had somebody leave a comment on one of my videos the other day that said, I hate alcohol markers. They always look so streaky. And I was a little bit surprised because alcohol markers are made to be more of a consistent wash of color, than, and they blend together better than like water-based markers and stuff. And so I did comment back on her comment, and I asked her a couple of questions, but she hasn't responded. And so I wondered if one of the reasons why she was having such a hard time is because her markers needed to be re-inked. If they are dry, because alcohol markers blend in the fibers of our paper, if there is not enough moisture to saturate what we are coloring, then there isn't going to be enough moisture for them to get into the fibers of the paper and blend. The other thing that could also be creating like a streaky effect is if you are using markers that are too far apart, like your color combinations are too far apart, and so you're not getting really good blends, and there's clear like lines of delineation between one color starts and one color stops. There's a bunch of tricks you can use for that as well. But like in this case, I like this color combination. I've used it several times before. It's like a golden yellow, and I know that it works for what the look I'm going for, but you can absolutely see the difference between the one on the left and the one on the right, just based on having those markers filled correctly and, them being able to do what they're supposed to do, which is blend the colors. So these sleigh bells have the 3 layers. They have a base layer, and then they have that detail layer on top, and then finally the middle section that kind of separates it and gives it that extra layer of dimension. I think these are adorable. We did, and we actually tried this year because my little one is old enough to enjoy it, but my oldest isn't too old to enjoy it. Do you know what I'm saying? So here we have a scenic railroad near where I live. And every year they do a Polar Express. I was like North Pole, but it is the North Pole, but it's the Polar Express. And so I was able to take Nathan when he was little, honestly, only because I was gifted tickets. They are a little bit expensive. So I was gifted tickets, and I was able to take him, and they have like hot chocolate and cookies, and they go for a ride on the train, and Santa comes on the train, and there's all these Christmas lights, as you're going down on the train ride, and you take the train to the North Pole, and then, it comes back, and like the kids can dress up in their jams, and it's all really very adorable. But as one of the things that you got from that trip is you received a bell, like in the movie, you got, the bell. So each one of us got a bell. It was me, and, I had 4 tickets, 3 tickets. I can't remember. No, I think my sister was with me, so I had to have 4 tickets. So it was me and my sister and my mom and my son. Obviously, the whole point was for it to be with him. Okay, let me go back real quick. So we've colored up our greenery, and then here for the pine cone, I wanted to do the strap for the bells as like a leather strap. That is how our bells came. That's the part of the story I was just going to tell. But for the pine cone, this, you could absolutely do what I normally do with Lovely Layers and lay it over top and kind of mark where it goes. But because Honeybee does such a good job of putting the embossed areas where where you're going to be able to see it through, I could actually just look and see I could just look through and see where it was going to go. So that's where I made it the darkest. And then I was able to like do the darkest color and then the mid-tone. And then just around the edges, I did the light mid-tone. That would also needed to be re-inked. P.S. I am clearly falling down on the job. And then for the layering piece, I did the dark mid-tone just on the very bottom of each layer, like just kind of skimmed over it, and then filled it in with that light mid-tone and then my highlight color, which is this E53 here, and then just stacked them up. So it had plenty of dimension, and I didn't have to take the time to kind of like mark them individually. I hope that that makes sense. So anyway, so part of our little gift, that's what I was saying, part of our little gift was these little sleigh bells, and then they come on these little leather straps, and you can hang them as ornaments and on your tree. And so it's very, very cute. And we wanted to take our little one. It is pricey, though that really wasn't the issue. It was the times, because like obviously you want it to be at night so that they can see the Christmas lights, but a lot of the times filled up so quickly that like there's only like 8 o'clock on a Sunday that's left. Well, like she's going to bed. She's going to bed. Not that we can't make an exception, but you know, we'll definitely have to look and see. So now let's talk about the technique. So here, these little craft trays I actually just got, but do you remember back in the day, like mixed media, there used to be like a little tray that you could get for your mixed media, especially when you were working with UT or ultra thick embossing enamel, which is what we're working with today. I don't have my tray anymore, but I thought, well, this will be perfect. Like I'll be able to use it. So I smushed on our clear embossing ink. And ultra thick embossing enamel is like, it melts like embossing powder, but it is thick. Okay, it is very, very thick. And you can see with the first layer, it is very textured. So if you want it to be smooth, like I wanted my bells to be nice, smooth, and shiny, you want to do at least 2 layers. If you work very quickly and it's still hot, you can kind of dip it back in. But for the most time, I just let it cool down for a minute, and then I will take my embossing ink and just go right over top of it again. And then that way I can make sure everything gets kind of into the little nooks and crannies. If you have something that you're trying to turn into your little enamel sticker with that has a lot of like depth in it, you may want to get a brush, like a blending brush, and use it with that embossing ink and then work it into each kind of crevice. I found that kind of smushing it down and swiping it over the top worked well enough for me. And then the trick is you got to heat set it until it's smooth. So if you're heating it and it still looks bumpy and you're on your second layer or even third, depending upon how thick you want yours to be, then you need to keep heating it. You don't want it to, you know, like bubble up or anything like that. So here, I left this in on purpose because who has this not happened to when it comes to embossing powder? I was trying to see like if I could in fact get it back into the bin like this. And so when I was moving it around, I ended up moving it all over my desk. So here I'm going to show you the perimeter, the perimeter of my desk, which is a disaster area because it has all my tools. But what I wanted to show you was because these little craft trays have the little lip that goes right up against my glass mat, I can just scoop them right in. Now, in order to make sure that it goes into the thing, since it's completely open on the side, you do need to make sure that you have it moved all down into one corner of the tray, and then you can pour it back in with minimal mess. But if you try to pour it beforehand, because that whole side is open, it will just dump out. So just something to keep in mind. For our sentiment, I did a white sentiment to tie in that white shield. And I did that with our Brilliant White pigment ink, and then I heat set it with a white detail embossing powder. I am going to pop my shield up over our little background. I just lined up both of the points with the stars in the embossing in the embossing folder, because I knew that that was straight from when I had lined it up originally. And then I am just setting my sleigh bells here. I am building up everything else around it. So I'm putting in my pine cone. I'm putting in my what is this? My pine. I'm putting in my pine cone. I'm putting in my little pine sprigs. And then I'm also putting in the holly and then the berries that we colored as well. I did cut, there's 3 different sizes of pine and 2 different holly leaves. I cut multiples of each so that I could make it kind of nice and full, but I only did 1 pine cone. I didn't want the size of the pine cone kind of competing with the bells. So once I had all of those down, I just glued these down with the same like Honeybee Be Creative glue. I just put them on the back and then I just held them for a second. Same thing with the second one. I'm going to put the glue on the back and then I'm just going to hold them there with my hand. You can also put a weight on them if that works for you, but I didn't need any extra adhesive. That worked just fine to hold them in place. Something else to note, if you do multiple layers and it's very, very thick, UT can also crack. If you find that you're manipulating it and you get a crack, just reheat it and the crack will fix itself. So now the second way that you can add the gloss, and this makes more sense for smaller items, this is actually really fun too because I did the clear glitter first, is Glossy Accents. Glossy Accents is tried and true. I mean, 1 bottle will last you a very, very long time. And then I do like putting the clear shimmer underneath the Glossy Accents because then it's kind of trapped and it's glossy and glittery at the same time. I added a couple of little gold pearls, and then that's it. That's the whole card. So I hope you guys are excited about the release. It is Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I will see you then.